Channeling positive energy. If you're interested in channeling positive energy, there are a lot of avenues to pursue. Perhaps it doesn't just happen. Channeling positive energy basically originated with my discoveries, or God's opening up to me, or positive energy coming to me. And most recently, I had a conversation with a person who, when I was mentioning Jesus, was kind of standoffish. But when I used the term channeling positive energy, there was a heightened interest. And I realized that we need to be kind with people, to people. I worked in sharing information business for a long time, meeting and greeting people, and I learned that caring about people's objections and discomforts is a very important part of caring for people. So, this portion of channeling positive energy is actually channeling positive energy using the Jesus avenue, the downsides. I'm going to share information about channeling positive energy using the Jesus avenue, because you can go somewhere else to get other information. I've actually gathered information, gleaned very broadly, and I'll share a lot of the broad amounts of information that I've gleaned, but I'm going to be focusing primarily on how to channel positive energy using the Jesus medium. And I would encourage you to see a copy of the film Furious Love by Darren Wilson, because in that he explores the environments of standard witchcraft practice, people who work in sex trade, monks and yogis and meditation people who can not eat for extremely long periods of time and move immense powers. You know, the Harry Potter stuff is actually not just a fairy tale. You can move powers. So this is channeling positive energy using the Jesus medium, the downsides chapter. And I always like to begin with song, because that's the way of refreshing. And this time I grabbed a hymnal. This is the United Methodist hymnal, and I made my way through and I found a song that I actually don't know the melody to. So since I'm sharing this the way others shared with me, encouraging me to be a discoverer and have a childlike heart and keep an open mind, I share this with you as if you were friend or child or young person ready to learn. There are 4 types of people that existed in the flow before evil came: male and female, elder and younger. There was clearly the element of eldership and experience present in the first season when there was no pain or difficulty. And therefore, if you have more experience riding a skateboard than I do, and I really want to ride a skateboard, then you should handle me in the gentlest, most cautious way possible. And I should be full of questions and full of curiosity, and that is actually, you know, that's that's a perfect flow between one who is experienced or has made discovery and one who is interested in learning. I don't expect that everyone is interested in learning, but this is my offering to the world. I die soon. And if you watch this, I may not be alive. I remember Bill Aiken, who was whisked away, Larry Washington, who was whisked away, David Schmidt, who was whisked away, Kelvin Moore, who was whisked away, David Steves, who was whisked away, Adrian Blum, who was whisked away. These friends of mine cannot talk to you. They don't have recordings on YouTube, most of them. So I offer this to you as a lasting gift from the things that I have gleaned through my tours of the church mess in America. And I have toured the church mess in America affectionately, kindly, because I hated it. I mocked it. I slandered it. Because it didn't give me what I needed. And then I discovered that the teachers around me truly did not share, or were hiding, or were not interested in the power and the supernatural and the revelation about things of the gender and things of pleasure, including intellect and food and travel and experience, as well as the obvious, sensual pleasures. Because the pleasure of being wise in the mind is actually one of the heaviest traps. So, Yahweh, have mercy on me as I share these things. Regardless of whether I should be doing something else, I just break through and I say, in the name of Yeshua, I plead the blood of Jesus, I plead the blood of Yehoshua over this event, this communication, and I lift up the name of the supernatural visitor. Enter, channeling positive energy, using the Jesus medium, the downsides. God of love and God of power, grant us in this burning hour grace to ask these gifts of thee, daring hearts and spirits free. God of love and God of power, thou hast called us for this hour. We are not the first to be banished by our fears from thee. Give us courage. Let us hear heaven's trumpets' voices ringing clear. God of love and God of power, thou hast called us for this hour. All our lives belong to thee. Thou, our final loyalty. Slaves are we whene'er we share that devotion anywhere. God of love and God of power, thou hast called us for this hour. God of love and God of power, make us worthy of this hour, offering lives, if it's thy will, keeping free our spirits still. God of love and God of power, thou hast called us for this hour. Words by Gerald H. Kennedy, 1939. Music, Joachim Neander, 1680. It's a German tune called Unser Herrscher. Unser Herrscher. So maybe I've heard that melody before, but I don't know. God of love and God of power. And I'll also offer something in the spirit. God of love and God of power, thou hast called us for this hour. God of love and God of power, God, you have called us for pour this out. Handle her sweetly, sweet, sweetly. We are afraid. We are not the first ones to be dismayed. Give us breakthrough and understanding now. Yeshua, God, you are a rescuer. Show us now. Don't think that I'm not dying as I give you this song, because I have lasted far too long. Far too long. I have lasted far too long compared to what my sins deserve over my life, my errors, the hurt that I've caused. I have lasted far too long. Yahweh says, I give you 120 years. But the consequences of what we choose can erode away at that thing. And then the erosions can be washed away, and the mountains of our lives can be reformed and regenerated. So, you don't know. Now, note the theme of the frame, the empty frame. It was very interesting, because on that one sweet day when precious friends were off being family in a wonderful way, and I was getting to be family to a family, changing transmissions and preparing for a wedding and people trotting in and out and doing stuff. In the room that I was in, I found this empty frame, and I was like, that's like the empty frame thing that I've got set up, and wow, this is God. And I had a ton of time. I had a whole day to like practice and set up and do this and that and stay fresh. Right now I kind of feel a little sour. So, that's a long introduction. And, you know, maybe some people have dropped off a long time ago. But if you want to channel positive energy, here's the reality. If you're using the Jesus Avenue, there are going to be downsides. Ready? Here they come. 1. The evils of a thing called Christianity are going to be all around you, and you're going to have to be dealing with people who have been hurt by true evils in Christianity. That's a downside. So in a way, you actually have to go forth knowing that there is already prejudice against you if you are joining the sweetness at the core of Christianity. Christianity is like a sphere with an ugly crust on the outside. Picture like the crust of the earth. But at the core is the very spirit that is infatuated with you better than any human can be infatuated with you. So, since the very beginning, there was a sweetness, and the people in the sweetness were slaughtered. They were just killed. Their blood they were beaten to death. And as things gradually grew outwards, there's been this big, ugly juggernaut of Christianity. And some parts of it are truly wrong. So there's this big, ugly crust on the outside, far from the core, which still thrives and exists. So you can continue to dislike the crust on the outside of Christianity, but go all the way in and taste the core. But If you do not realize why you are uncomfortable talking about the word Jesus or talking about church and Christianity, then let's work on that. That's first. Before we talk benefits, let's talk problems. So you know what you're getting into. That's the idea. You know, like, hey, oh, you love Jesus and everything's going to be good. It's not. There are people who know only the ugly crust on the outside of Christianity, right? There are people that only know the outside. They see this thing. They don't know the sweetness at the core. They think that there may be a God somewhere, but it's not inside of that thing. And that's number one. One downside. The evils of Christianity. Number two downside. Actually, with the people that I share with, if someone had spoken over me in my youth when I was 8, 9, 10, 13 years old, I truly believe that they would be prophesying over me, apostolic teacher, one who travels in a team or operates in a team and moves around somehow. I mean, YouTube is actually moving out and around, so this is true. Apostle just means sent one. Like, I sent you to the grocery store to get bread. That's a sent. I sent a person. Apostle just means sent one. It's a very benign term. It's been over-spiritualized, and it's got a whole Christianity crust on the word, and there's demons clustered around it. And sometimes if somebody says apostle, a person might, like, not ever want to talk to you about religion again because they heard that, you know, term that was bandied around by people who are being false and not following what they believed and that kind of stuff. Oh, by the way, the little frame thing, that's us. We're an empty frame, and we can put whatever we want into our frame. We can frame what we are. And it's like that's the image of free choice. We have an open palette. Like Marcel Duchamp said, my life would be that of living. Every breath, every heartbeat inscribed nowhere. You can't put a dollar value on it. He was an artist who was kind of an iconoclast, which means an artist who liked to smash the idolatry in the midst of the art scene. And Marcel Duchamp and Merce Cunningham are two people that I really like because they have cheerful, childlike hearts. I don't know where their spirits are ultimately, but I know that many of their expressions are useful and even parallel with Mashiach. And just like that super rabbi said, even your own poets said this and said that. You know, righteousness, teachings about righteousness come through the whole human family everywhere, but there's only one supernatural visitor, Yehoshua of Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth, who we are talking about channeling positive energy by using him as the medium. So, we got the problems of Christianity. Hey, make a list of of 5 things. You know, can you list off the cuff 5 ugly, nasty things that have happened in Christianity? 5 reasons why a thinking, balanced person would want to have nothing to do with Christianity. Can you make a list of 5 solid things that would cause someone to be turned off by Christianity? If you can't do that, you shouldn't be a teacher, and you're not really caring about people because you're not caring for how they might have been hurt. So in order to come up with 5 right off the cuff, you know, you need to know maybe 15 or 20. That would be a good thing. So that's 1. Number 2, let's call the tough teachings of Jesus. There are some teachings from the Jesus of Nazareth guy that are downright difficult. His teachings are so broad, they actually challenge to insanity every sort of person. Oh, God wouldn't want me to do that. I mean, I use that environment to serve God, so he wouldn't want that to be taken away from me. You know, there's so many things. You know, oh, this has love in it. Oh, well, that's important for da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, this is my whatever. This is my responsibility to God because, you know, I'm this and I'm that. And Oswald Chambers, My Utmost for His Highest, January 11th. January 11th. The Offense of the Natural. It's an amazing thing. I think that's what it's called. And it's a picture of how God will bring us to a point where we try to say to Him, oh, I'm not going to do that thing that you're asking me to do until I know that everybody will be okay. I'm not going to do that thing that you're asking me to do until I know that this person has a full understanding of why and where, and that they won't be troubled or no problems will come to them because I make this move. And that's where Oswald Chambers says, here is where you've shown that your true God is your Christian concern about people, or your honorable concern about people's. You know, like that kind of stuff. So God will offend your mind. He will challenge you to do a thing that feels offensive to you, to find out where your heart devotion really is, whether it's towards the highest voice, the highest medium, or whether it's towards your idea, what is pleasant, good, real, kind, excellent, da-da-da. Problems of Christianity, tough teachings of Jesus. Can you name 5 tough teachings of Jesus that would cause anybody to say, oh, that's screwed up, that's probably not really what Jesus said? For example, there's one place where it says, anyone who does not sell all that they have and come and follow me cannot be my disciple. The word Christian appears only 3 times in the entire New Testament. Jesus never called his followers Christians. That is a term that almost absolutely was made up by intellectual, snobbish people who know how to slander you while you're standing in the room in a group of people and you're saying something and they're saying something, you don't understand what they're saying, and everybody else is kind of giggling. You know, it's like, well, some people don't have the wherewithal to use the proper syntax when they're presenting a really essential issue to them, so da-da-da-da-da-da. And a person could be making that comment in casual off, and they could be actually totally condemning, you know, politely assassinating a person that was standing right there who had no clue what they were saying. So these people are able to use words to hurt people in a very, very effective way. And they basically call the followers of Yehoshua of Nazareth Christians, which means mini Jesuses, like mini me's. And they start joking about those people, and the name sticks. But Yeshua of Nazareth, in the New Testament, the word disciple or talmid or devoted follower or devotee of a teaching a person a way, that word appears in the scriptures 270 times in the Messianic writings in the New Testament. And the miracle of the New Testament, the literary miracle, is that it was duplicated so intensely, one little set of writings spread around the world as if there were a printing press. No other book in all of human history before the printing press has had such a bizarre duplication and spreading around. None. You can't go backwards in history and change that around. It is spectacular. And the people that were carrying that book were willing to watch their children become eviscerated and have their legs chopped off in order that they just renounce the God that they believe or this person as the visitor. So understand that just a light word in this freedom of religion zone might get you in trouble. Beware of what you're making vows or assents to, and beware of what you're implying, because even if a parent implied that they would renounce Christ just to save their child, the understanding is that that was a heinous sin. And if you believe that they should have done that to preserve life, etc., etc., then you haven't looked at the actual flow from the spirit realm of people who are woken up to an awareness of God even in those pivotal moments. And you might never know or see the fact that that child may have been sacrificed just like God sacrificed his son. That child may have been sacrificed. in a way that the executioner becomes a rescuer of thousands of children. This is, this is tight stuff. Problems of Christianity, tough teachings about Jesus, persecution and slander. There are times when you will do the absolutely right and reasonable and kind thing, and you will find voices that rise up in your closest friends, best friends, happy posse environment that go, "You're out of your mind. You're doing this because you want this. You're trying to entice blah 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 blah. You're trying to. This is a trick. You are an underhanded person. You are trying to deceive and trick and etc. etc." Read John chapter 7. The beginning of it. Jesus has got a big festival. He's hanging out with his brothers. His brothers really don't believe that he's really the supernatural visitor, the Messiah awaited for all humankind. Messiah is the visitor for everybody, not just the Jews, for everybody. So they're not sure that he's Mashiach. And there's this big festival in Jerusalem, and they're up in country bumpkin land, up in the country region of Nazareth. And they say, go down to the festival in Jerusalem. If you're supposed to be a public figure, then you need to be in the public so that they can see the miracles that you do and da-da-da-da-da. Because their brothers figured maybe we'll believe that other people believe. And the leaders are actually saying, if you go with this guy, you're barred from the temple, and you're no longer a spiritual teacher. So they're kind of confused and worried. And Jesus says to them, look, you can go up to the Jerusalem whenever you want to. They're not trying to kill you. So they went up, and he hung around and hung back. And he went up later on in secret on the sly. And there was all this conversation about him. Where is that guy? He deceives people. Is he here? He came here? He deceives people. He's very dangerous. And other people said, no, he's a good man. I know what he's done. I've seen what he's done. I understand where he's coming from. And brothers and sisters, you are not Jesus, and you definitely have some sins in your life. So study the two places that are really intense. David, 3 places, man. David does a horrible thing, and because of it, a baby dies, a husband dies, there's all kinds of shame. Ahithophel becomes an enemy to him. His own son sleeps with David's wives, and his own son tries to kill him, and his own son ends up dying because the grandfather of the woman that he messed with, and then later became married to and had Solomon, and Solomon was the builder of the temple, but the grandfather of Bathsheba had a blood hatred against David and actually advised Absalom to rise up against David and become king. And that was all the results of David's nefarious activities, and he never was able to unlock himself from it. His son was dead. Man. Another place, David counts up all of his mighty men and all of his assets and finances, sort of. And as soon as he's done that, while he's doing it, his prophet says to him, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do this. God gives us victory without any of our own powers. He just tells us what to do. We go this way, go that way. He brings the victory. You're not supposed to know absolutely how much power you have. You're supposed to listen to God and make moves with God. David counts up his mighty men and his monies and stuff like that. As soon as he's done, he's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to know this. I don't even want to have an understanding of this. And he knows it's wrong. It's like making him insane. And God visits him and says, okay, you will be punished. Either this is going to happen to you, or that's going to happen to you, or this is going to happen to you. He's like a kind father who says, here's the options of your consequences, and they're going to hurt. And you pick one. And David says, I'll do this one because it's kind of falling into my father's hands. I don't want to fall into the hands of my enemies who are run by darkness. I want to fall into the hands of my Father in heaven and the spirit beings that operate with him. So a plague falls on Israel, and 70,000 people die. Just because David evaluated what his funds and powers were, rather than just going by the Spirit. Whew. And then there's another time when a man, David's coming back from some kind of event or battle or visitation or something like that. He's surrounded by armies and mighty men. And this guy is walking on a mountain ridge and he starts throwing rocks and stuff at David. And, you jerk, you fool, I curse you, I curse you. And David's big, strong warrior guys are like, okay, which one of us gets to cut his head off? Because this guy's shouting and cursing him. And David says, wait, don't you dare go anywhere. I have done so many horrible things. What if the Lord is telling this guy to curse me? And he does not let anyone stop this guy from his fury. And all the way home, it implies for a very long time, this man is showering hate on this man, mocking him, making a spectacle of David. Wicked, foolish, ugly, awful, terrible. Killed people, responsible for death, responsible for disgusting things. You are not Jesus. And if they were saying that Jesus was horrible and he deceives people, guess what? People will be saying that we are horrible and we deceive people with good reason. So take that lesson. You will receive hatred that rises up for no reason, and you will receive hatred that rises up because of a seed of truth of something wicked that you have done, and that will battle your emotions by the dark side, not by human beings. It's not their problem. The forces of darkness will be coming against you to see if you'll drop the ball with your faith of loving kindness, holding up God's lovely and terrifying name. God is the God of all majesty, all glory, all fire, all light. And God's evacuation from us, God's going away from us, will be, if God goes away from us and leaves us behind, it will be the most excruciatingly horrible, devastating thing. So God's name is a great and terrible name, and we don't want to play games with it. Right now, that's all I've got. I want to cap this. There's an event. Praise you, Lord. I'm preparing you. If you want to channel positive energy using the Jesus medium, you have got to clearly know and understand the downsides. Oh, let's drop one more. We've got evils of Christianity. We've got tough teachings of Jesus. We got persecution just because you're carrying the light, and persecution because you have touches of darkness in you that will be remembered and brought to the surface again and again and again and again and again. And that will be a consequence for your evil. But there's also divisions. And this is part of the, evils of Christianity. But there will be divisions. There are peoples who love to stick to their favorite teaching or their favorite way of worshiping and imply, we're so right. We're so right. It's so good to be where it's really right and appropriate. Because we hate what is really wrong. And those people over there are doing what is really, really wrong. And then that whole posse of people is completely ignoring some of the absolutely filthy, disgusting things that they are doing wrong, that wreck family, society, whatever, that lie about, that basically ignore the tough teachings of Jesus. So those divisions and those battles between those divided places are very difficult. In the tour of the church mess in America, you've got Messianic Jewish churches, you've got Apostolic Catholic style churches, you've got Information Bible churches where it's heavy on the information, you've got Charismatic Pentecostal churches who follow the Book of Acts flow of evangelism, which is you go out and you do miracles, channeling heaven, and when people get curious, you tell them what's going on. The other way is moving information. Then you've got also the plain folks, the separate communal pure life peoples like the Amish, Mennonite, Old Order, Quaker, some mutual, like some societies and intentional communities. And then you also have the social gospel groups, which are more accepting of other paths, other ways, other faiths, and essentially caring most about the people, the human beings. 2 commandments. Love the sweetest high God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love neighbor in the same way that you tend to love and give cookies to yourself. Do the things, understand and serve your neighbor, the other peoples of this earth. Don't just say, believe this and say Jesus' name and then everything's going to be okay, but rather serve the need of peoples, which is what some people call social gospel. And no one church is absolutely any of those things. The real important thing is, what is your church? And then the real important thing is, Jesus is at the core, and he's all of those things. He was Jewish. He started the first apostles. He had the information of the Bible. He said, it is written to Satan. Why does Jesus have to say to Satan, it is written? Jesus doesn't need a damn book. Excuse me for my harshness. Why does he say it is written? Perhaps there is a force field around these writings, and I tell you that there is. Don't play games with slandering the Bible. Watch out. It's 3 parts. Predictions and preparations, where there were wars to preserve a lineage for a supernatural visitor. There's the life and teachings of the supernatural visitor, who killed no one and did not demand that there be killing, ever, in all of the recorded information. And the first peoples, from Acts to Revelation. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts to Revelation. This is the New Testament, the second 2 parts. The first peoples are the peoples just like you and me. Read through the red letters from Acts to Revelation. The red letters from Acts to Revelation basically say, don't do anything until you know you have power. You are going to be sent to people that you really don't like. That's Peter being sent to Cornelius. You're in this place, and you better get out of here, because they're going to come in and ruin you. It's a warning. It's like a captain saying, move to another sphere. There's another one saying, I know you're scared. I know things are messed up. Stay in here. There are many people that you need to touch. Do not be afraid and go away. I am standing with you. Don't make a move. Don't get scared and run away. And then there's other things about, like, don't have conflicts among you. And then the last part is Revelation 2 and 3, which talks to 7 different gathered peoples in cities. It's Yeshua speaking to the churches. So that, if you start with the red letters in the book of Acts, that's actually how God will speak to us when we're truly, fully channeling positive energy. And from that place, you can read the Jesus teachings and what he was saying to people when he was still bound under the Jewish law. And Rabbi Saul says to Peter, hey, you're a Jew, and you don't even act like a Jew anymore, and now you're making these Gentiles get their penis skins cut. They're making them get circumcised in order to come to God, which is not absolutely the deal, although there are benefits to it. If you look at the Law of Moses and Laws of Moses, read a book called None of These Diseases. In a society where there is circumcision, the women are protected from pelvic disease and ruin in an enormous way. Enormously. It is a protection for the women in cleanliness. You are precious. I do not live forever. And I give this to you as a gift, as a friend, as a child. Please hold on. Grab on tight. Your kids need you. Your family needs you. And most importantly, people that you meet as you're going along the way will receive you and say, there's something different about you. And you can hand out some treats to them and they can follow things along on their own. Nowadays you can do that. You can actually reach in your pocket and you can hand out something. You can hand something out that people can read, and by going clickety-click, they can search around the world. There are people right now that are becoming better friends of God than many people out there in the churches. Just through the web. They are becoming friends of God and nobody even knows it. It's so cool. They are channeling the positive energy and they don't even know how to start. Their friends and their family don't even know that they're high and they're connected with heaven. And that is a fascinating thing. As part of the Channeling Positive Energy, one of the programs will be how to maintain it, how to maintain the channeling, how to maintain the channeling. Perhaps that'll be the next one, I don't know. But this wraps up Channeling Positive Energy using the Jesus medium, the downsides. Thank you very much.